Do we remember when Ohtani was being accused of betting and gambling on sports, maybe even baseball? Well, it turns out it was his interpreter that was placing these large bets. And the person we have with us right now, his name is Howard. He's the author of Recalibrate Redemption Story in Real Time, from billion-dollar betting and Vegas high roller suites to 29 federal agents raiding his home. He collected billions of dollars in illegal bookmaking bets, and from one of those people was actually Ohtani's interpreter, and it made national news. Matt, I do appreciate you coming on. How are you?
Great, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, Brian.
Yeah, there's so many questions to ask for you and about, and congratulations on this book. But I want people to understand what you are going through right now, because you were raided by the FBI and now you're facing prison time. Is that correct? Can you tell people about that?
Yeah, so obviously I was raided October 5th, 2023, 29 FBI agents at my house and a dog. And after about an 8-hour, 9-hour search and, them taking everything out of here, here we are almost 2 years later. I'll be in front of the judge next Friday at 9 a.m., August 29th. And I'm looking at probably my recommendation right now from prosecution is 15 months in prison.
Okay, so a little over 2 years. How much money in illegal sports bets do you think you've taken over the course of your lifetime?
Oh, geez, $1 billion.
A billion. Wow.
Well, yeah, I mean, think about it. Just him alone, he bet $326 million. So
Ohtani's interpreter.
Yeah, Ipe Mizuhara, $326 million in less than 2 years.
I want to ask you about that. Obviously, I'm sure everyone's asked you the billion-dollar question. Is there no doubt in your mind that Ohtani had anything to do with any of these bets at all, and he had no idea what was going on?
Oh, no, there's doubt. There's doubt, plenty of doubt, actually. But I don't have any doubt that he was the one gambling. I definitely don't believe he was ever wagering. The doubt that really remains, where only two people know, which is going to be, of course, Ipe and Shohei, the truth, is did he know and help aid in a bet by loaning him money and allowing him to use his money to pay the gambling debt or to continue to feed it? That's the part that's a little bit in question.
What do you think? What do you think the answer is to that?
My personal opinion is this. If you have, I'm sure you have like a lot of great friends in your life and you gamble, you kind of gamble together. And if you're at a casino and, you run out of money and your buddy goes to bed and you have his chips, let's say it's, for argument's sake, $10,000, your buddy knows you're good for it. No big deal. You probably ask him, I'm going to dip in for $1,000, or 2,000, whatever percent is, not expecting you to take the whole 10,000. It very easily could turn into, as we know, chasing, gambling. You just wipe out the whole 10,000. Next thing you know, the next morning you go to him and say, look, I owe you 10 grand. I took it all. I was chasing the dragon. I kind of believe that in the beginning, this is just my assumption, that he allowed him to use some of the funds to cover the debt. And I think he just kept tapping into that. And I don't think Ohtani knew that he was going to wipe out $17 million, which of course is a drastically ridiculous amount of money. And, because Ohtani is so driven and so amazing at what he does and so locked in, people say, well, how would he not notice? I get that. That's a very accurate statement to make. But he had another bank account that was all for his endorsements that clearly was 10 times more than what he was receiving from the Angels back then. So I believe that Ipe was just tapping into the Angels' money, and that's clearly my assumption. And I believe that he was chasing the dragon, trying to win back the money, and it just kept getting worse and worse over time. And I just believe that Shohei just was focused on playing baseball. That's truly my belief. But did he know about it? I still think he helped him in the beginning. That's just my opinion.
So would you consider Ohtani a victim here?
Yeah, I do, actually. To what extent, I don't know. I mean, because again, using my analogy, which I think is really important for this, if I help a friend out and I loan him some of my money, I'm not guilty of a crime. But if he takes all of my money and more without really my knowledge, then therefore I'm a victim in that case. And I think that's what's happened here.
Right.
And clearly, I never wanted to be part of any of this. I mean, I'm a greedy guy. I love money. I was running a business illegally. I was in a gray area. I don't deny any of that. But I never wanted to be part of a theft or a fraud or someone going to prison. Right. And even affecting the Major League Baseball for a little while. Thank God Ohtani went on to have the best season of his career, 50-50, winning the World Series, MVP. And I'm very happy that happened because I didn't want to be a distraction to baseball or his pattern.
And in this new book that you have out, Matt, you talk about the fact, listen, you're a father, you're a husband, you're a family man. Yes, you have been taking illegal sports bets for many, many years,
Right.
But what did it feel like? I mean, listen, my house has never been raided by the FBI. I hope that never happens. But
Right.
like, what did that feel like for you? I don't know. Like, was your wife there? Were any of your kids there? And what was that experience like for you?
There's no way to ever, when there's things in life that we do that unless you go through the fire, you really don't know what it feels like, right? It's like anybody. Example, someone has cancer and they go get, chemo and stuff. It's like you feel.
Uh-oh, did we lose Matt there for a second?
Um,
Matt?
yes,
Okay,
sir.
we lost you for about 2 seconds. Go right ahead and start.
Okay, sorry.
Yep,
That being said, you hear me okay now, right?
yes, you're good.
Okay. That being said, when the FBI came to my home and raided me, I was putting my 2-year-old boy in his car seat in my wife's G-Wagon. And I heard FBI freeze. I looked over at 8 red dots on my chest.
Oh my God.
And that was a tough moment because I knew that my life was changing. And then my wife was in the house. And, looking at 8 AR rifles at your chest was a little overwhelming. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh my goodness. So they take you in, you have an idea of what's going on, I would imagine. Do you believe the Ohtani stuff is what put it over the edge? Because they were following you for a long time, right? Do you think this was like the breaking point?
I don't believe the Ohtani thing had anything to do with it. To me, it was all based on the Las Vegas, which you living there, you understand my name is running pretty rampant in the last 2 years there because of this case.
Mhm.
And the truth be told, the money laundering and all the money that came through casinos through illegal activities is definitely being, I'm going to say, honed in on right now in Las Vegas, which is hurting their numbers drastically. And because of that case that started with Resorts World, I believe that's what led down to me eventually, which is, the Ohtani thing was just what came out of that.
And you've had days, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, where you've lost 7 figures gambling yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I bet 4.6 million on the Super Bowl in 2023 before I was in trouble, which is the biggest bet I've ever made in my life, by the way. But thank God I got lucky and won. But I've lost $1 million on sports bets many times. And tell you the truth, getting high on your own supply was something I was very guilty of. I was definitely I was a gambler. I was in a casino almost every 2-3 weeks, really, on a private jet somewhere, going to these casinos, firing at the biggest levels in the world.
What is it like for somebody to have $4.6 million on a football game? Can you please describe what that feels like?
The dopamine rush is nothing you could describe, to be honest. I would describe it as the best sex you've ever had in your life times 10. Maybe even being on a roller coaster that is impossible, that flies into outer space, because the dopamine rush is incredible. There's no question. But people would look at me and say you're an imbecile for putting that kind of money in a game, and I understand that argument. But when you're gambling at the levels I was, every bet got bigger and bigger over time. And in fact, if I never got in trouble, I probably would have bet 6 million on the next year's Super Bowl. Wow. And the point is like, it wasn't the amount of money. It was just reaching that level of making the game overwhelmingly exciting. And sadly, for a guy who loves gambling and has an addiction to it, you just want to bet more, because if you bet less than you did before, then it isn't quite meeting that, dopamine rush that you're looking for. At least in my case, I'm speaking for myself.
Right. No, understood. So if you don't mind me asking, you're a guy with means, right? You've got a nice house, a beautiful
Sure.
family, but like, what are they doing to you financially? Because what did they do to your bank account? What did they do to the money that you have?
I paid every dollar in restitution or in full before I've even seen the judge, which happens less than 1% of the time.
Wow.
I took a home loan on my property. I paid 1.6 and change, just under 1.7 million. And so I've paid them in full. That was the charges and fines and penalties and everything. So in truth, I'm cleared with them. And
Good for you.
the reality is, though, is that I don't make the money I used to. So now, keeping my lifestyle in order and trying to, keep afloat kids in schools. And, I got rid of all the fancy cars and the Rolls Royce and Bentleys. That stuff's all gone. I don't even care about that. That's material things. But I'm just trying to maintain a normal, good lifestyle for my family, really.
So I'm trying to understand, like, if I was ever put in a situation like this, like, what do you say the day that you go to prison? The last time you see your wife, I mean, obviously, I would imagine your family's going to be able to visit you, but like, what do you say to your wife? Like the day you go, What have you thought about that in your mind? Like, what am I going to say to my family when I have to say goodbye to them? Like, what?
Yeah, yeah, it definitely crossed my mind every which way, right? That's why I barely sleep anymore. The anxiety level is very high. Going to prison would be 10 times easier on me if I didn't have children or a wife. Knowing that they're going to be okay and I've got them covered financially with our mortgage and home and all that it makes me feel better. But being present as a father, the biggest failure I've ever had in my life to this point of 50 years is like not being able to provide and protect and be
Right.
available. So that's actually the biggest failure I've ever had in my life, and no matter all
Yeah.
the falls I've had. So that's the struggle. But I just tell her, obviously we have a great relationship, we have a really good family, and it's a bump in the road that we have to learn. My thing about my book, and recalibrates the name of the book, it's on Amazon, is to show mindset, show the strength of when you have adversity, you have to overcome it. The reason I've made the money I've made in my lifetime is because of that. Is my mindset and my ability to fall and get back up. And it's something I talk about in my book drastically because I was the largest retail commodity trader in the world for 11 years. Everything I've done, I've been number one or very successful at. So I'll come out, I'll overcome this adversity. There's no question. It's going to be a little harder being a 50-year-old felon. I can't get a state license, and there's going to be some challenges, but it's nothing I can't handle.
It's my understanding that there might be a movie in the works. Can you share any of that?
Yeah, so I have a script offer right now. I haven't signed anything there. I do have an agency. WME is my agent. I'm currently filming the documentary, the sizzle for a documentary, hoping to get on Netflix. Obviously, my book was rolled out a few days ago. I've already sold 1,000 copies in the first 24 hours, which is nice because I'm not really promoting it, and don't even know how to promote it. I'm learning all this stuff. I self-published it, but I'm just attacking everything like I always do. Head down, push everything out myself, and just be myself and be transparent.
Yeah, I think that's really all you can do. Going back to this book, how can people get their hands on it? I think you said you can get it on Amazon, right? Just tell people a little bit more about how they can buy this book and one of the main reasons why you decided to write it.
Yeah, great question. The main reason I decided to write it was because the minute the FBI came to my home, I knew my life was changing drastically. And everyone's told me for the last 30 years, all the things I've done. I mean, front row, back seat with Andrea Bocelli, private concerts, Blake Shelton, on stage with them, and playing golf with Charles Barkley, Travis Kelce, and the American Century Championships, and gambling at the highest levels in the world with billionaires across Monte Carlo, and all these things I've done, which are all in my book. The truth is, I wanted to get that story out there and leave my kids some sort of legacy of, yeah, there's been some tarnish to it because of what I'm going through, but there's been some great events and things that I've done that most people will never do. That being said, I wrote the book immediately and finally was able to put it out, which took me a while because I wanted to get it right and tell the whole story all the way to this date, which is
Yeah.
where I leave it. And it's on Amazon right now
Mhm.
under Matthew Boyer Recalibrate. And you can also go to matthewboyer.com and get a personal signed copy on my website as well.
Well, Matt, I'll say this in your defense. I mean, I'll just give an example. You might be spending a couple of years in jail, it appears, but yet we have a former football player here, as you know, who killed an innocent young woman and her dog going 150 miles an hour. He's only spending a couple of years in jail. I'm not defending what you've done, but I'm saying that there is it seems to be an unfairness in our justice system in a lot of different categories. And I think you going to jail for a couple of years, but a drunk driver killing somebody, not spending the amount of jail time that you're going to be spending, I guess that's my last question for you. I just think that's completely unfair.
Well, I appreciate your viewpoint. I'll second that, but the one thing I try to do now is, as opposed to saying poor me and point the finger at the system, even though I disagree with a lot of the laws, I did know what the law I was breaking, and I knew the risk and exposure I put myself under. I may not have calculated being in prison and leaving my family, and that's something I should have done. So rather than blame the system, which I totally agree with you, by the way, I just look in the mirror and own it myself and say, you know what? It's not for me. I'm not a victim. I got to go handle this. I got to show my children how strong I am and overcome it and just come out bigger and stronger and do something legal. I had many opportunities to change my course and do something professionally on the legal side. But to your answer, yeah, I totally agree with you.
Understood. Well, I wish you good luck with this book, Recalibrate. I certainly appreciate your honesty and love to have you on again, maybe when you have a little bit more time. I'd love to do it. I know you got another interview coming up here, Matt, but I really do appreciate you coming on. And thank you so much for joining us, my friend. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on your show. It's amazing. And I would love to be back on it. And maybe we could do it after I see the judge, or maybe when I get out of prison.
Happily to do both with you, Matt. I appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Wish you the best.
Thank you. That's Matt Boyer, everybody. His new book, Recalibrate.